What is going on, y'all? What is going on? I got a new, not a new microphone. This is a new headphone set. So I'm not going to know how this sounds until I play it back or play this video back. But anyway, this is your girl, Nala-Ife, also known as Nala the Neptunian, signing on for Nala-Ife Talks Live, unscripted and off the chain. And I'm going to say this. Today is kind of an upbeat day because I became abreast on some events that were happening. I guess here on social media. I'm actually watching the Tamron Hall show, and I got caught up with the Kendra G visit on to the Tamron Hall show. And, despite what some people may say about her statements being a faux pas, I think that as humans, we are allowed to exist in a space of flaw, okay? And I enjoy the unapologetic but also serene way in which Black women are starting to allow themselves to speak and allow for correction in a reasonable way, but allow themselves to have a faux pas, allow themselves to not be perfect, even if they represent a pillar of the community as it relates to even just the concerns of Black women. Those It's okay for Black women to have a sovereign measuring stick of success that doesn't necessarily involve the conversation of Black men. Quite frankly, I think that we have traditionally moved away from things that are considered to be men's business and women's business. And quite frankly, I think that a lot of us have not allowed ourselves to feel as though, on either side, but specifically I'm speaking to Black women, that we are deserving of respect based on maybe the lifestyles that we have previously led, currently lead, decisions we've made, and in the ways in which we judge ourselves, in the ways in which the world judges us. But what I am particularly proud about is that with Kendra G, she has been faced with a lot of backlash. And of course, we know the community that is the loudest and the most prominent as it relates to said backlash. And there's a lot of social, psychological, a lot of mental and issues that is attributed to this community, so nuanced that it's impossible to cover it in one live stream. But I believe the subject of her standing up for herself specifically was back to Corey Holcomb. And despite the fact of him being a giant as it relates to being a comedian and having such a huge, broad, and large footprint on social media, specifically YouTube, and how he is well received by men in such a way that he could say the most egregious things, even downright disrespectful to a woman's humanity, and he is still embraced and insulated amongst Black men as a fixture, as it relates to their behavior, identity, and their own individual culture within and without the diaspora. He is, for Black men, a library. He is a moral compass for Black men. I just from what I've gathered over the years. He is, if you're not familiar with Corey Holcomb, the comedian, I believe him and Patrice O'Neal represent if we wanted to understand the undercurrent of the psyche of black men in popular narratives, you could reference these particular comedians because they represent like archbishops of the black male diaspora as it relates to how black men think and how they regard black women, even if politically they don't say it or they are, too ashamed to admit it. But the way in which they lead, their ideas, the recipe, if you had to build a black man, like you would a Powerpuff, not as a Powerpuff Girl, but if we were to do like Mad Scientist, you would have a lot of Patrice O'Neal, a lot of Corey Holcomb, in the some R. Kelly in there. You would have a lot of these archetypes within the maturation of the regression of black men. I'm not speaking about black men as it relates to their divine assignment, nor am I speaking about black women yet as it relates to our divine assignment. Quite frankly, this is the product or side effect of imperialism, colonialism, and the various things that have happened over the diaspora. Okay, not to be confused with just what happened here in the United States. Let's be very much understood. You would not have the issues in Darfur, nor would you have the issues in the Congo, nor would you have the issues in South Africa if it weren't for the vehicle and which was created through colonialism and through the reassignment of spiritual, mental, emotional, how can you say it, significance to the Godhead that have been assigned and reassigned to peoples of color. Whenever you give someone a God and that God does not look like them, you essentially take away through practice and through missionary work that person's assignment to divinity. It is a ritual. It is an absolute assault on one's identity. It is an absolute assault on one's spirit. It is an absolute assault on one's access to source power. Because if one is not able to emulate God energy, then they are subjugated to the many different unbound spirits that were stripped of their own divinity within the cesspool of our world and frequency. Let me just say this. I said a lot of word salad just then. But when you give a people's a god or a goddess to which that does not look like them, you say to them unequivocally that they are less than and they are heathens to which they've had to be delivered from their heathen status, and nothing of them is of divinity. So understand that before there was slavery and after the big, you listen, we could talk about lynching, we can talk about all of these things. I even question if I should be live streaming on YouTube right now, because the way in which content creation and representation goes and what's allowed to be spread amongst our communities, I'm not sure that this platform is very friendly. But I digress. It's like media. If the Holy Bible and everything points to me being a dark force, and everything is high yellow, everything is without complexion, everything, even the beginning of human civilization, isn't allowed to carry its melanated roots, then I myself am 3/4 of a human being. I myself don't have to aspire to divinity, and I myself do not deserve a crown of sovereignty. Do you understand? I think we need to understand that for a lot of white men and women who claim to have friends, you ask your friends who are black to join in with you under deities that fail to accomplish the things in which you have accomplished for yourself, and that's identity. And then you play with us when we say something about race, saying that we're playing racial politics. Yet, and still, you have representation. And what kind of mind do you have to believe that your very unkinky hair, lack of melanin, very new build is good enough to be a representation for people of a whole different type of hue, a whole different type of history? You have to be one far removed piece of prick to believe that your imaging is good enough and sufficient. Despite how uncomfortable it makes you feel to be surrounded with Afrocentric deities and imagery, you would subjugate or even believe that it is appropriate to subjugate other people to your own gods. Even down to under Hindu practices, people have the understanding that Tantra is some weird, freaky time. Not even understanding that the ways in which the West practices Tantra or the Tantric enables the degradation of the soul. But because we step in front of the ethnic group to which something is important, we step in front and we allow this. We don't even allow the people who are of these teachings to speak and shine forth. We wonder why it's perverted. We wonder why we're perverted. But anyway, I think I went off on a tangent here because when you listen to Corey Holcomb, you'll understand that I didn't go off on a tangent. That I kept it right where it was supposed to be. Bravo to Kendra G, who stood up to him. He's going to come back. He's going to drag her. He's going to drag her for everything that she is and is not. He may even make her the lowest on the totem pole, something that has been historically done by those in rulership for hundreds of years now. He will take on the identity of the white oppression by way and proxy of the Black Man Alliance. This is evident in just looking at MTR's response. MTR's response was in worry for Kendra G, even though he saw the social flaws. He saw it. He even showed concern with what he saw. But if you go into the comment section, you see the cognitive dissonance and the witch hunt and the desire and the bloodlust for the digital lynching of this Black woman who is defending herself in response. She's not attacking Corey Holcomb. She's defending herself. And she did it anyway. She did it anyway. She did it anyway. She did it anyway. It's not enough for us to be excellent. It's not enough for us to be willing. It's not enough for us to have ascertained the danger in dealing with someone. She's even told this man when he has asked her, for her number, knowing what he's about, and out of respect for herself, she said, "No, I don't want to date you. I'm not the kind of girl that you date. And out of some sort of sick and twisted sense of entitlement and lack of accountability on his part and assignment that he puts black women in. That's really what this is about. Black women are whores. Black women are no more than a bed wench, a slave bitch, to be slutted out from the time that her period starts. She is to be spread from vagina lip to vagina lip. Even to the point where black women won't allow us to close our legs. The great Black Madonna has been given the scarlet letter and has been reassigned the whore of Babylon when the whole time she was the queen of heaven. She's not allowed to close her legs to any man. But should she open her legs, it confirms that she is not to be respected. The sentiment is loud and clear, ladies and gentlemen, that black women are in open season, and that to even merely expect to be treated with basic human decency is you stepping over the line, nigger girl. We got Trump in office now, nigger girl. It's a wonder we don't blow your brains out, nigger girl. So much so that my sisters have to calm down the throngs of men who watch them through coddling and reassuring their allegiance through giving throat and mouth massages to their penis in order to try to show black women how to relate to black men who are at a fever pitch with them. It's so strong that white women even feel emboldened. So much so that they could blow a black man's brains completely the fuck out. And with good reason. Because before she was attacked, black women who didn't want to take up for the brother who disrespected black women unmotivated outside of his own desire for supremacy. He was attacking black women and ended up getting attacked by a white woman. But before she received any backlash, the black women who said, I'm opting out, not my business, were attacked for the black whores that they are. Given the environment, given the very dangerous next 4 to 5 years that black women and children will inherit, there will be attacks on the black woman's effigy from all around. You can guarantee that. She still decided to stand up for herself. And to me, I think that that's the most gangster thing, considering that they will come for her business. They will come for everything that Kendra G has. Unrelentingly. They will try to digitally lynch her so that she is a shining example of what not to do. And if you ever, black bitch, open your mouth up against being digitally or verbally molested, this is what will happen. We will sick our dogs onto you in the same fashion that the police sicked their dogs onto black people during the civil rights movement. Understand that this is what the landscape is accounting for. I was listening to Angry Man last night, man, the sheer disgust that he had when it came to black women, despite the fact that 50% or greater of his moderators are black women, was absolutely barbaric. People always say, well, I could never be the monster. I could never be a serial killer. Yes, you could. Given the right motivation, the right propaganda, you could be a Nazi. You could easily be an Israeli soldier in a Palestinian elementary. Easily. Easily. You could easily be a group of sex-starved soldiers who are slaves to the exporters who go in on elderly women, and young girls to satisfy their sexual needs in the Congo. You could easily be that easily. All it takes is programming, reassignment of your anger, and a rebranding of an enemy. It's amazing what the human would allow themselves to do once they have located and decided on an enemy. If you guys seen Wicked, whenever someone, needs to bring people together, they create an enemy to which the villagers will pull a pitchfork together and do every ungodly thing to that human being in the name of God. If I could share right now, I was posting so much, child. It is what it is. I'm not going to share mediocre tutorials and reactions, but you can type in MTR Kendra G, and even with his best face and male focused centered content, he had a hard time with not seeing Kendra G as right in her rebuttal. And so it went from how dare this black bitch say something to, oh my God. I hope Kendra G understands, because even he, as a figure in the black manosphere, is not able to quell black male anger. It is a political weapon that has been carefully crafted over 4 to 5 years. A sophisticated piece of machinery, if you will, because it is psychological warfare. Essentially, this is what's going to happen. Black men are going to be central to committing some very heinous crimes against black women in such a way and in such propaganda that it will call in a concern with the newly patched up alphabet groups and agencies, that once their use is no longer needed, they will be asylumed as a terrorist group, thus affording the powers that be a lack of threat of being usurped. But in the meantime, politically, it means that black women would operate in such a way, or the goal is to operate in such a way that we are not a political threat, because we are being handled by the black men. So once we're handled and corralled and called off, black men will be called off. I'm not saying that every white person thinks this way. I'm not even saying those who are publicly empowered think this way. But what I am saying is that whenever there's a regime, that regime is planned out 10 to 20 to 100 years ahead of time. Ultimately, the power is to be taken from all people, but the best test subjects to do so with were people of color. So understand this. What I'm saying on this Venus day, we think that we're insulated by the jobs and the income and the television appearances. Gone here today, gone tomorrow. So if it's any black business that you want to support, it would be reinforcing the women or reinforcing those who actually reinforce the black community. And that is the black woman. Because irregardless to the very danger that's presented, black women have been on every front line where black men were harmed. We cannot be so sure, especially going forward, that black men have shared that same passion for black women. There hasn't been a movement that didn't have a black woman's fist, if not face, body, and shield in front of it. But where black women are assaulted by their own men of their own communities, the black men who do stand up for us are harassed online in such a way that they are castrated for the offense. I know that this is not easy to listen to. I know it's not easy to hear. I get that. I understand the gravity of it. But the only way in which we can change some things is by getting the raw dog booty hole truth of the situation that's at hand. This is not about racism. This is not about classism. This is not about Trump. It is about the spirit of those that are behind Trump. It's not even about his policies. I have issues with certain things, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm talking about what he represents, the egregore that's created of him amongst these male spaces. And what that means and how that means. Essentially, black men are treating black women as if we took them off their thrones and enslaved them ourselves. It's the same thing when a man is talked down to and berated by his boss, and he comes home and backhands his wife and their children to remind himself that he's a man. Women naturally adhere to those who are in power. To ask a woman to do anything different when she is the carrier of children is asinine. So to blame a woman for having to take up the position of authority because of the lack of authority is crazy. But you know something? The Bible, for what it's worth, did say that to not fret, my children, because when the time comes, I will increase you in numbers. So hopefully throughout this, there will be a level of enlightenment about where and who we are and where we actually come from and the tenets of that. But until then, We have to look at the monster for what it is. And I would just say, as a case study, look out for your sister Kendra G. Look out for what it looks like. Look at the comment section. Take your head out the fucking sand, bitch. And look. Especially if you ever aspire to be a personality on social media and you carry black or very richly hued skin. I encourage you to look at the comment sections to see how you are regarded. The truth. And unfortunately, there's not enough dick sucking in the world to keep your temple from being on the other end of somebody's 38. Okay? This is a very serious time in the fantasies in which one has about being protected, but yet lacking the evidence of that protection, but you have receipts of the latter, of the abuse. It's time for you to wake up. Does this mean that you change? No. It means that you acknowledge at least the environment and you move accordingly. Okay? But shout out to Kendra G and shout out to the very brave men who, despite the environment, still love black women. Because just like the white people who were abolitionists or white people who were allies in the civil rights movement, they come after you worse than they do the subject of their anger, their bigotry, and their sexism. So, a monster is rising that we never thought we would ever see again. And it's here. And we got to deal with it. But the only way to deal with it is in honesty. Arguing with people who are not going anywhere with their life, are ignorant, uneducated, and purposely want to seek attention because they have no real spiritual weight is a waste of time. It is a demonic distraction, and it will keep you impoverished. And the last place you want to be is without money in your pockets. So please keep that in mind in this time. This is not a time to play. Like I said, started with last night. If you're claiming that you are out here supporting these sex workers and the trans, but you don't want to intellectually stand on anything, sit down. Because you merely are a tool to be used by those who want to dehumanize us as a whole. And your lack of thorough conversation and argument solidifies you as an example of the lack of humanity that we as black women, LGBTQ, and trans women or men have. So if you don't want to do the work to hold down your points of view, stay out the way. This is a very dangerous time. Get into your magic. And if you have friends as women right now, and they are in abusive relationships, it's not your job to go and save them. Fuck no. They know what time it is. Because that man is more capable with support to take you on up out of here. A woman who refuses to leave an abusive man has been the source of the deaths of several of her friends, police officers, and children. And so if a woman gets on this internet talking that talk, but she's at the end of somebody's bat and battalion, that was her choice. She did not understand the assignment, nor did she spiritually read the room, and that is her karma. We don't wish that on none of our sisters and brothers, but you can't risk your life behind it. Okay? So bravo to Kendra G. I know this is kind of heavy to talk about, but it's real talk. Okay? I will touch base with you guys tomorrow, and I'll post a couple of things on tomorrow on the community feed and come back and do a live stream. But I just thought we could use a dose of reality. This is your girl, Nala the Neptunian, signing off for Nala-Ife Talks Live, unscripted and off the chain. Y'all have a good night. Peace.